One of the most talked about topics right now is the SOGIE Bill, which means Sexual Orientation or Gender Identity Expression Bill. Now, here's a trivia that maybe some of you are not aware of. Did you know that the SOGIE Bill, I believe now, is one of the longest bills that have been in Congress? It has been around since the year 2000, and until today, it has not been passed. Now, there are very strong proponents that want the SOGIE Bill to be passed, and yet there's still a lot of very strong opposition to the passage of the SOGIE Bill, and that's why it has not been enacted into law until today, almost 20 years. And at the rate it's going, I think it's going to be 20 years before this thing actually gets passed. Now, I got together with friends of mine from the LGBTQ community, and we had a nice discussion on it, and I wanted to get their opinion on the SOGIE Bill.
In the SOGIE Bill, you have sexual orientation and gender identity. So that's two different things, and most Filipinos conflate that. Sexual orientation is basically who you are attracted to. Now, gender identity is different from sexual orientation because it's not a sexual thing. It's what you identify as.
Now, the reason why the SOGIE Bill has suddenly come to light again was because of a recent problem that a transgender woman named Gretchen Diaz faced while going to the washroom, the female washroom of a mall. And she was kicked out and arrested for that. Here are some of the thoughts of my friends from the LGBTQ community.
There's been several things on the news recently, but what came out was a Facebook Live of Gretchen Diaz with the janitor of farmers in Cubao. And the issue that time was she was handcuffed and there was an intervention with the guards. Then she was brought to the precinct. And then that's when also several people arrived, including Congresswoman Geraldine Roman.
So with what happened with Gretchen Diaz, now everyone's talking about solutions on how to make washrooms more gender-friendly.
The easiest way, without having to change so much infrastructure, and then later on having finally psyche and how people think follow through, is to just relabel, and you're right about it, I might agree. Keep the women's bathrooms, and in the PWD bathroom, change it to all gender or toilet lang, all gender with PWD access.
There are establishments that are already having 4 bathrooms. If you look at the PTEX, which is like a terminal in somewhere, they have 4, which is for men, women, and then there's like a gender thingy, and then a PWD. That's 4.
Why not just have a gender neutral option available everywhere?
But I also understand the concerns of the women.
I think yung issue talaga dito is not about trans people or which gender uses what bathroom. It's about, their fear that baka mabastos ako ng ganitong tao, or maybe they're just pretending so that they can see what's going on inside the bathroom. And I think it's a bit cynical, yes, but it's still a very legitimate, perspective to have. And I think that's something that people are neglecting to discuss right now. Kasi ngayon yung push is all for trans women. Let's do this. We have to be more tolerant, accepting even. And if we don't go through the motions and discuss things as they should be discussed, we're probably not really making the changes that we want na talagang good for society.
But then again, Mara Chua made a very good point of why that shouldn't really be a concern.
Men don't need to pretend to be women to harass women. They do it so easily every day. Why do they have to spend so much time, put makeup on, put a dress on, put a wig on just so they can harass women? We just said interesting thing because now SOGIE is being equated with the bathroom issue, when in fact it's so much bigger than that. Discrimination in the workplace is actually a bigger issue for trans women.
So I was trying to figure out what was the objective of the SOGIE Bill. I mean, it's pretty obvious, but we have to be explicit about it. So number one objective was to be able to protect the rights of the LGBTQ community against discrimination and against harassment and abuse. The other objective is to be able to create awareness and education on the various genders in our society.
Right now, yeah, education is very important because I think this is where a lot of the general public really stops. They're very hard set on like the biological aspect of gender, but gender is not necessarily just biology. It's more than that. It's more psychology than biology. Right now, there are no laws. Yeah, that's what the SOGIE Bill is. Then you have like the previous ADB bill, the ADB Anti-discrimination Bill, that's still in the process of getting approved. So there are no laws.
There are ordinances which are citywide and LGU-wide, but there's still no nationwide framework or law that's for anti-discrimination. But also, there are laws already set in place for people to not be doing bad stuff to other people in bathrooms or outside of bathrooms. So even with that, you can invoke those laws already. But what is needed is a nationwide legal framework, because even if there are ordinances in a city, sometimes it doesn't follow through because big businesses, some areas do not follow local ordinance, and they would rather follow, they could probably or should probably follow a nationwide framework, or which is a law. So we need an anti-discrimination bill.
So why are people against it, if you think about it? It seems to have its merits, and when I was meeting with my friends from the LGBTQ community, I'm very convinced that the bill should be passed. But when I researched further, I realized that certain people were not really against the SOGIE Bill, but it's more of asking for a revision or something that's more all-encompassing, because they figured that the SOGIE Bill, yes, protects the rights based on your gender, but this bill doesn't tackle other forms of discrimination, such as discrimination based on religion, based on ethnicity, and so many other things. So the proponents that were against the SOGIE Bill were simply saying that we should put an all-encompassing anti-discrimination bill and pass that instead. And in other countries, that's what they've done. When they've stated that it is illegal to discriminate based on religion, based on ethnicity, based on gender, and based on everything else that you can think of that I can't even think of, that I'm sure is out there that people can discriminate on. Although I understand why the members of the LGBTQ community are pushing particularly for the SOGIE Bill, that is their cause. As much as it is the cause of ethnic groups to be able to fight for their rights and to not be discriminated upon, and even also other religious groups to be able to fight to not be discriminated on based on their religious beliefs and other factors, I think the LGBTQ is right to fight for their cause. But having said that, I am now at the point where I believe that the SOGIE Bill should be changed from a SOGIE Bill to an anti-discrimination bill. That way everyone is protected. Not just the LGBTQ, but women, but men, different races, different ethnicities, different religions. And it should be all-encompassing. And what the LGBTQ community should do is work in coordination with the government to ensure that there are educational and awareness programs that will be able to promote and educate the public on the different types of genders, and that it is not just man and woman anymore, and that there are a spectrum of genders that people need to be aware of. Because the anti-discrimination bill or the SOGIE Bill, whichever one gets passed in the end, will have no teeth if people are still unaware of all the different types of people out there, whether it's based on your gender, your sexuality, your ethnicity, and all other factors. And that's the way we're going to be able to do it. So more than the bill itself, I think the important thing is to be able to enforce the law, and also to be able to educate the public on what the law stands for, and to create the awareness so that the people are aware of all the different types of people out there, and to be more tolerant of our differences. Because that is the biggest problem we have as a society. we are a society that has become intolerant of our differences. And I think an education to teach people to be more tolerant of each other's differences is what we need right now. And the government, beyond passing the bill, whether it's the SOGIE bill or the anti-discrimination bill, for me, I know there are existing laws that protect people's rights already, but I believe an anti-discrimination bill or a SOGIE bill is still necessary to be able to put it in the forefront of people's mindsets that discriminating on any factor whatsoever is not acceptable and is illegal and is punishable by the law. But on top of that, it is important, equally important, that we create the proper awareness programs. So our government should create a separate body that will implement the awareness campaign for anti-discrimination. And the government should consult with the various marginalized groups so that everyone is represented and the awareness program is effective to be able to stop discrimination on all factors.
A lot of solutions can happen developmentally. They happen in phases. It's hard to implement everything in one shot. We're pushing for laws and all. Of course we are. But it's good to have everything in one law. Of course, why not? But sometimes you want to start with what's easy to pass first and then build from that.
So I hope this video has enlightened you on the importance of an anti-discrimination bill or a SOGIE bill, and also help to push the agenda forward to be more tolerant of all our differences.